Okay, good afternoon, class. Today is another day, a continuation of our lesson. We are now on ULOA, distinguished advantages of sign languages in adapting the environment and adapting with its people. Okay, so these are the terms that you will be encountering through the lessons. So definitions and natures of sign languages. So here it means that a sign language is a language that utilizes signs made with a face, hands, or other movements. Sign language is a way to communicate through hand gestures and symbols, which are often used by the deaf and the mute. So when say deaf, bungol siya, mute, dili ka istorya. Sign language is relayed through manual articulations, which include facial expressions, hand gestures, and body movements. So a sign language is conveyed to have a shared and/or common understanding of the message. So these are all the definitions and natures of sign languages. It cannot be called a language unless we agreed as to the meaning of those words. What else? A sign language also involves encoding and decoding of messages in the target participants. So just like the cycle of communication, it has to be completed. So from the sender to the receiver and feedback as well. So using messages. So in this case, the channel would be the sign language itself. A sign language aids you to create connections with others from different places with diverse beliefs, cultures, and customs. Okay, so, or diverse beliefs. So, a sign language paves the way for a better understanding of other people and the world. So, a sign language allows you to persuade, inform, and entertain the people around you. So, the flexibility of the human language, that's another term. So meaning human language shows its adaptability, that when deafness leads to speech inactivity, it seeks another way through signs and symbols. So the human brain can communicate even if it becomes deaf, or it becomes blind, or it becomes mute. Human beings still find a way to communicate with others. Even those people who are already who cannot move in their bodies, the only thing they can move is their finger. Still a form of communication. So sometimes investigators would ask questions answerable by yes or no. If he answers yes, he just lifts his finger. If no, no movement at all. So even the non-movement is still uh, considered communication. Silence is still a form of communication. What else? Sign language relativity. So meaning sign languages are not universally understandable across cultures. The signs and symbols may be offensive while communicating with people who convey a different language. Like in our case, like pointing a finger to somebody, it's not offensive, but in some cultures that's a no-no. So you can point to people using all your fingers, not just one. Okay, so what else? Number 4, advantages of sign language. A sign language offers varied opportunities, not only to parents and their hearing impaired children, but also to others and their target audience, paving the way to adopt and adapt to people and the world. So these are the essential definitions of things. Whenever you are at a loss as to what it means, you simply go back to our meta language. Okay, the essential knowledge. Okay, so again, we can use this as a reference, but you can also use other materials in the library or online resources. Okay, number one, communication between culture is facilitated by the availability of common language. So the said premise of Castigador, for example, in 2019, is analogous with the concept that there must be a common understanding through sounds and symbols that the people utilize for talking or writing. So living in vast diversity, though, it's possible to experience a language barrier during work, travel, or everyday life. Say, for instance, meeting people who speak a different language can be challenging. How will individuals connect in the absence of common language then? So, with a little patience and creativity, still it is possible to communicate despite language barriers. That's according to Evans of 2014. So rising above language barriers. So one way of rising above language difficulty is using a sign language. So as people move across borders, we explore opportunities and interact with others. A common language becomes a need to thrive. So for that reason, the contribution of sign language is gaining momentum and showing evidence that is a necessity in today's society. So if we are in a classroom setting today, probably we would have played a game called charades. Remember, I believe you had experienced that kind of game. It was one of the most fun game I've ever encountered. So all you have to do is just to be creative on how you can convey the message to your audience using only your facial expressions, your body, or you can even give hints as to the number of words or number of syllables. But the only thing that you are not allowed to do is to open your mouth. So you have to be creative in doing that. I had a title of a movie. Once I played a game, I was the one who acted out, and I made my group guess the title of the movie in only 2 seconds. You know what I did? I just stretched out my hand like this and said, and my group said Titanic. That's it. So for 2 seconds only. So it's a matter of creativity. But there are cases where you have a hard time. One title of a song that's really funny is, and students had a hard time guessing, is Baby One More Time from Britney Spears. So, and some of them would really look funny because when they acted out the word baby, so they have to show something that comes out in between their legs, and that's really a funny sight to behold. And sometimes some of them would even exceed the 1 minute mark and incur penalties for their groups. So yeah, your ability to be creative about words is being tested by that game. Okay, number 3, the birth of sign languages. Where does it begin? In retrospect, sign language is traced back before Christ and during the Renaissance. Though varied theories arise as to why and how these sign languages evolved, nobody can accurately determine their early origin. From Larson. Perlmutter of 2013 added further that in the second half of the 20th century, several observed that numerous thoughts are differently expressed in signs which are assumed as an ungrammatical form of English. Afterward, sign languages are utilized to substitute for speech. So in the words of Castigador in 2018, a sign language is perhaps older than spoken language, so which may comprise of hand gestures, shrugs, facial expressions, or coded manual signals, strengthened through the use of words reflected in the alphabet. Okay, so number 4, flexibility of human language vis-a-vis sign languages. Perlmutter conveyed that sign language as a sign has been discovered over the past half century. with that occurrence, it's not only about the discovery of sign language, but also an exposition of languages itself, of language itself. It magnifies that the human language is more flexible than had been imagined. So, because it exists already in the auditory or visual aspect. So, undeniably, human language shows its adaptability that when deafness leads to speech inactivity, the human language looks for another way through signs and symbols. So this reminds me of Helen Keller, who was born as a normal child, but at the age of 1 year and 7 months, she encountered a special kind of fever that disabled his sight and hearing. So at the age of 1 year and 7 months, he became blind and deaf. So the thing is, as a mother, as a parent, how would you communicate to a child who is blind and deaf? You cannot teach them symbols using sight because she is blind. You cannot teach her words because she is deaf. So the only thing that's left of her is the sense of touch. So she was taught by a special teacher on how to communicate using sign languages, but manual alphabet, but it has to be touched. So you have to spell out the letters in her hand for her to recognize what you were talking about. It's a bit tasky. It's tiresome to do that. It takes a lot of patience to learn and to teach, but she was able to learn fast. And you know what? She studied to a university as a normal student, of course with a secretary beside her, and she became a well-renowned author. So one of your assignments is to read one of her essays, which I will be giving later on. Okay, so the title of her essay is 3 Days to See. Okay, 3 Days to See. Okay, so look for that and read. It's an essay of about 8 pages. So whenever you encounter words that are unfamiliar, look it up in the dictionary and try to understand the main point of the essay, so you would understand, and try to read as well the background of who Helen Keller is from childhood to her dying years. Okay, number 5, sign language and its existence. A sign language is a language that involves encoding as well as decoding. Okay, so decoding of messages through the use of hands, face, and other body movements. So messages are conveyed through gestures, facial expressions, and body movements. So sign language is done to achieve a shared or a common understanding of a message. It allows people to persuade, inform, and entertain. Though through sign language, a better understanding of other people and the world happens because it creates connections with others from different places with diverse beliefs, cultures, and customs. Have you ever been in a jeepney where there are deaf people who are communicating to each other? They're so noisy. Just kidding. They're full of actions and facial expressions. So, and they really, you can tell that they are really understanding each other. Okay, some examples of sign languages. Okay, shown below are few examples of sign languages that exist in our local setting and the world. So for example here, that sign of approval to rock on as adopted by rockers. So in Italy, Brazil, Portugal, and Spain, sign of cheating. So it is telling someone that his wife is a cheater. So the horn finger. And in some churches, this is I think a demonic sign as well, because it represents the goat or the horn. It's a satanic in nature, especially as it is associated with rockers. Okay, in USA and Philippines, it's a sign of peace. To rock on is adopted by rockers. In Australia, it's a sign of rudeness. It signifies attempt or defiance towards authority. So the B sign. In some religious world as well, it's represents the two columns, also the papal authority, and I forgot the other one. As long as you have this as sacraments in the Catholic Church, then there is world peace. So something like that. I've read it from somewhere. So in Italy, it's a sign of inquiry. So what is it? What do you want? It's followed by a flick of the wrist. Something. In Democratic Republic of Congo, it's a sign of small amount. So with fingers all together. In Egypt, it's a sign of time. It's a motion that you only have a minute. Okay, in Philippines, Japan, and Singapore, the sign of rudeness. This sign is tantamount to calling dogs, something like that. It should not be used to let someone come over to you. Summoning finger. Okay, in the USA, UK, and the Philippines, sign of okay, absolutely fine, everything is good. In France and Belgium, these are signs of worthlessness. It means zero or worthless. See? So, totally the opposite. In Ghana and the Philippines, it's a sign of money. It indicates money is coming when your palm is itching. Okay. Body posture for confidence. So you say anxious or timid. That's how you look at. You hide your hands, your eyes low or darting around, tension in shoulders, shaky, froggy or closed off stance. While you compare it with power pose, fake it till you make it. Eyes looking forward, make eye contact, hands still on hips or by sides, open, grounded stance. Okay, so standing in a power pose for 2 minutes boosts testosterone and confidence and lowers cortisol and anxiety and stress. So too bad, because we can't have reporting like what we do in class. Sometimes it's really a worthwhile activity for that individual to develop his confidence by facing a bigger number of people in class. So, but even today, even in online, there are some students who are still very timid. Even if you ask them to just introduce themselves in front of the computer, they still experience stage fright. Okay, so eyebrows, if raised, this signals discomfort. Eye contact, if staring takes very long, it may indicate lying. Okay, voice, if the voice goes up and down, this means interest. Legs, if crossed, this signals resistance or low receptivity. But if it is expansive and authoritative posture, it shows leadership. So if legs are shaking, this signals a shaky inner state. So sometimes even policemen study body language, because somehow, even unintentionally, criminals can reveal themselves on checkpoints. Even if you are just asking for their license for a very minor violation, but because they are afraid that they will be checked by a policeman, then they started to panic, and it would sometimes lead to shootouts, deadly shootouts, just because of those little in what do you call this, little movements that reveal who they really are, or if they are lying. sometimes even the movements of the eyes on what direction can tell if the person is telling the truth or not. Okay, so signs of language relativity. Although having similarities among languages, sign languages are relative, so which means these are not mutually understandable across cultures. So it doesn't mean that if this is what it means in one culture, that is the same with another culture. So consequently, words may have different meanings, and the gestures may deem offensive while communicating with others who speak a different language. Hence, what works in one culture doesn't work in another when interacting with individuals who speak a different language. Thus, when people may tend to be self-conscious for not understanding the words being used. In the process, the preferred gestures to reinforce the conversation are not really intended to be offensive. So a good example of this is when we burp. Sometimes just burping in dinner table for Filipino families, that would be a compliment for the one who prepared the food. Wow, busog kayo ko, thank you. But to other cultures, that's very offensive. It's similar to farting in the dinner table. So that is something we cannot really relate to. So what else? The level of handshakes. What a sign language. We're talking about sign languages here. Pointing to the nose, something like that. In the Chinese, I think it's offensive, but to others, it doesn't mean a thing. Okay, so moving on. So the advantages of sign language. So learning the sign language can open varied opportunities, not only to parents and their hearing impaired children, but also to others and their target audience. So indeed, sign language paves the way for a better understanding of other people. So it truly creates a connection with others from different places with diverse beliefs, cultures, and customs may happen. So sign languages therefore lead us to adopt and adapt to people and the world. Okay, so for what else here? Okay, so with the assignments, we can just skip this. The assignment I'm gonna give you for this is you look for that essay, 3 Days to See by Helen Keller, and read it for now. I'm giving you 2 days to read it. I'm gonna put this in the LMS as an assignment. Then, out of what you have read, I want you to pick out one sentence that really impacted you most, or one paragraph will do from the whole essay that impacted you most, and explain also in one paragraph why. So when you say one paragraph, it has at least 5 sentences. So your topic sentence, your supporting details in 3 sentences, and at least a clincher, something that closes out the paragraph. Okay, so that's it for today, and I hope you will enjoy the essay. And probably we're gonna have a short quiz on some words, definition of words that are found in the essay. So whenever you encounter an unfamiliar word within the essay, please check on it. I'm gonna also provide a link for you to find the essay and read it. Okay, so we end here, and God bless. See you next time. Bye bye.